Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Tuesday, March 14th, 2020. And our top stories today, staying connected with loved ones during these difficult times, and the NFL draft goes virtual. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, of course, is Daniel Klein, Senior Technology and Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool. Dan, thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Greetings from West Palm Beach.
Yeah, how are things going? Working remotely, social distancing, still getting along with the family, the cats?
So my wife and I have, we never discussed this, but we kind of pretend the other person doesn't exist during the day. I'm lucky enough that I'm working right now from an empty co-working space. You might see behind me in the background the woman who runs the place, maybe a cleaning person, but I'm in like 40,000 square feet of space with at most 2 or 3 other people. And I have a private office. So I'm doing all the social distancing. I'm not breaking any rules. There's a 10-person gathering rule here, and we're not breaking that.
Sure.
So I'm lucky that I can leave the house during the day, which I've had to do, frontline journalist, broadcasting 2 or 3 hours a day to Motley Fool members, talking about what's going on with finances. That's about as frontline as you can be in journalism right now. So I'm lucky. I get to connect with people. The older people that cannot leave. If you are 65 or older, you are supposed to stay in place. That means getting groceries delivered, left outside. And there's things we could do as younger people. So I'll go through a few of them. And I don't want to imply, just before I get the, hundreds of Twitters calling me ageist, I understand that there's plenty of older people who are super tech savvy. My wife's grandfather, who passed away this year at 98, paid his bills online, could email me, was using a computer up until very much the end. And that is someone who was literally born before electricity was in every house. So I'm not saying you might have a grandma who is better than you, but most of us don't. They have holes in what they know. So I know I've had to talk my mother through how to do certain things, like the tricks to get a Whole Foods ordering slot, which is not super easy in Massachusetts. It's not that difficult here in Florida, but you sort of have to toggle back and forth and keep trying because they release slots all day long. With Instacart, I've had to teach older people, as soon as you can start a $35 order, pick a delivery time, even if it's 8 days from now, because you can keep adding to that order until they start shopping. And when they start shopping the order, ride it. And sort of when they say, hey, is this replacement okay? Tell them if it is, or to cancel it, or to get something else. There is a lot you can do there.
Yeah. Well, Dan, just real quick to interrupt you. I saw an amazing story where this young man who's a science major, information technology major at Georgetown University, wrote a program to help his older, mature parents find delivery dates on Amazon Fresh and Whole Foods. And that's amazing to me. So it actually notifies you when slots open up, and now it's available for download. I think that's amazing, and that shows, I think it kind of echoes what you're talking about, how the younger generation can help look out for the more mature generation.
Yeah, and we're going to see some amazing ingenuity come out of this, but there's a lot of things you could do. So I have, my mother is alone in Salem, Massachusetts. She is able-bodied. She can take a walk in her neighborhood. She's lucky that there's, sort of trails and big wide open spaces. She has neighbors who, if they're getting a grocery order, will see what she needs, generally in decent shape. And one person, big refrigerator, big freezer, doesn't have to, can supply up once every few weeks and have most of what she needs. Some of my relatives here, aunts and uncles, are living in 55 plus, maybe not the biggest kitchens in the world. And we've made efforts. One of my cousins who still has to go to work, she does billing for a doctor. The doctor is operating. Again, she works alone in an office, not around anybody, but she has to do payroll and billing. And so she will go and have a grocery order either delivered or make a safe trip to the grocery store and leave groceries for her parents. And it's really tempting to want to go inside and say, hello, they're your parents. But remember, you might kill them. So don't do that. The other thing I will say, though, is you see on Facebook all the people, I get the groceries and I Lysol them and I do. The CDC says, not the CDC, the World Health Organization says not to do that. That, of course, wash your hands. If it's unwrapped produce, I mean, you're going to wash an apple anyway. So take reasonable precautions, but don't cover your bags and your stuff with Lysol. You might want to throw those bags away, whereas previously you might have kept them for other uses. But even then, so put the bags in the garage and let them sit for 2 or 3 days. If anything's there, it's not surviving. The same is true with packages. The World Health Organization has come out and said that the likelihood of an Amazon delivery still having live virus on it is really, really small. So as long as and they use better language than what I did. They probably didn't say really, really small. But
that's technical term.
Right. Use common sense. So don't lick your hands to open the envelope, but wash your hands a lot, take normal precautions. Don't act like this is like the apocalypse where a tiny little thing, because remember, most younger people, not all, most, if you get this, you may not even know you had it. You may have a mild case. So ratchet down the fear as much as possible. And one of the ways to do that with older folks that are obviously somewhat isolated. My mother cannot go tap dancing, which she does every day. She cannot see her friends. Now, she's lucky. She's doing virtual tap dancing, and the daughter of the woman who runs her studio set up a Zoom for them so they could do their thing. And some of the women have struggled, but most of them have gotten it. But I call my mother every day. I call my mother normally 2 or 3 times a week. I don't need to call her every day, but right now that's a way for her to talk to someone. She's not living in a house with other people. Obviously, her friends use the phone more than my friends use the phone, but try to do that. Think about the needs of others. And if you're not working, and a lot of people who normally are really busy are not working because of this, what are they filling their time with? There's only so many video games and crossword puzzles and Netflix shows we can watch. Make sure to find ways to interact and reach out to people that need it. And there's a whole lot of ways to do that. I mean, I've been throwing, and I think Saturday night at 7 o'clock, I'm putting a different musician on my Facebook feed every night, paying someone, people I've met on cruise ships, to play for my friends and family. And that's gone astoundingly well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dan, we're going to have to leave it there. But when we come back, it's the NFL draft, and we're going to talk to Dan about using technology to draft some of the future stars in the NFL. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Dan Klein, Senior Technology and Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool. Hey, Dan, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
Hey there, Jeff. Just for the record, my 40 time is like a 6.4, so not a chance I'm going in the first round this year.
I think my 40 time is like an 8.4. And of course, we're talking about the NFL draft. Dan, difficult times, obviously. A lot of businesses are finding ways around it. On the podcast and in our last segment, we talked about using Zoom technology and technology to interact with one another. But I have to think that the NFL has an even higher level of challenge at stake because you have 32 teams, I think, and you've got all these different draft picks. How is this all going to work out?
You have 31 teams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is
Okay.
that is how I would define the NFL.
Oh.
Sorry, that is
Cool.
a cruel joke. Shad Khan, if you're watching, apologies for that. So this is one of those things where I'm actually amazed that the NFL did not have this technology in place previously. Obviously, they had some level of video conferencing, but I would think that organizations that are spread out around the country with people scouting and overseas and less overseas than other sports, that they would have amazing encrypted ways to do this. But I think I mistook how sort of old-fashioned some of these businesses are, and they're used to doing the draft with usually a brain trust in one room and sort of the rest of the group in one or two other rooms brought in for specific purposes. And the NFL draft was very much the same way it was in like 1982, pre-having all of this technology. And obviously, if you're the NFL, you have technology deals in place with Microsoft. We've all seen the Surfaces on the sideline. You have the ability to do whatever you want. So I think this is going to force them to recognize that some of what they were doing was kind of stupid. Like, there's a value of having people in the same room. On the other hand, there might be a value in having, say, scouts dispersed over the country, because when the draft is over, maybe that gives them the ability to go to the houses, I don't know what the rules are, of the unsigned free agents and present the situation why they should sign with that team. There is always a scramble for sort of the top tier guys that didn't get picked, and there's bonus money and different deals, and they have to sort of decide where they might stick on the practice squad, where they could make the roster. There might be reasons why this has been wrong, and I will point out that I think the NFL is making a gigantic mistake with the draft. There is nothing on television right now. The NFL draft is wonderful television. They do it over 3 nights. The first round is one night. It's the second and maybe the third round, maybe the fourth, and then they do the rest. I would have made this 7 nights of NFL draft. Spread out the selections more. You give ESPN time to put cameras in different prospects' homes or have them set up on FaceTime or Skype or whatever it is. And this, I'm going to watch. What else am I watching? Like, this would make a lot of sense. I'm surprised, given that it's kind of unfair if, the New England Patriots are on the clock, that's my team, and all of a sudden the internet connection goes kablooey. Well, then the GM's going to have to just call in his pick without all the necessary. There is no GM. It's all Bill Belichick. So I do think there should be more time built into this, and they're kind of sticking to this old norm in a new reality, and that doesn't make a ton of sense. And I'll apply that advice to anyone, like schools doing distance learning, workplaces having meetings over Zoom. You have to change your reality. I cannot tell you how many times I've been broadcasting live to thousands of people for Motley Fool when the person that I'm co-hosting with, her cat walks by on the screen. Or yesterday, I'm hosting at 9 o'clock and at 9 o'clock at night. And in the 9 o'clock hour, I call it the gin and tonic hour of our program. Not that I'm drinking a gin and tonic, but I would be if I wasn't on air. And I keep it loose. And at one point, my colleague who's broadcasting with me picks up his 2-year-old son. And we just sort of go with the flow. Businesses have to do it do that. I would like to see the NFL do that a little bit more, loosen some of how they operate. But, the NFL has often been called the no fun league, and they are sort of rooted in tradition. Hopefully this is going to break some of that. And you look, the average football coach, maybe not the average one, but a lot of them are older guys. A lot of these people are not, the youngest. They've been doing things one way for a long time. This is going to force them to see other perspectives. And I think you're going to see big changes, not just in the NFL. And I'm not someone who believes we're not going to travel anymore. Everyone's going to work at home. I don't believe that. But are you going to be allowed to work at home more when childcare or illness? Are you going to be encouraged to work from home if you don't feel well? Absolutely. Are more companies going to be open to, wow, I have the perfect candidate, but he doesn't live where we are. Could I hire him anyway? And that actually creates travel, because that person's going to work from home and might fly into the office a few times a year, or in my case, once or twice a month. So we're in sort of a new reality. I just don't think it's this weird dystopian, we all sit in our houses forever future that some people want to present. And I'll point out, and then I'll give it back to you, Jeff. A lot of people are sort of profiting from doom and gloom scenarios. I saw an article today, should the Las Vegas Strip reopen for 6 months? That's absurd. I'm not saying it will reopen tomorrow or 6 months. I'm saying we don't know the answer. There could be treatments or vaccines 2 months from now. Why would we be making proclamations? Even the CDC came out today and said no cruise ships for 100 days unless, and it laid out the scenarios, and they were very plausible scenarios. I don't trust any headlines that are these doom and gloom, no airline travel for 2 years. That we don't know the answers. So don't guess. They tell you when you're taking a multiple choice test, if you don't know the answer, just guess, because you have a 1 in 4 chance. This isn't a multiple choice test. We don't know what the selection of answers are. So anybody who's thinking more than 2 weeks, 30 days out, probably wrong.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly interested. I think it struck, and I agree a lot of what you said. Going back to the draft, I'm actually interested because I want to see how it unfolds. I want to see how the teams interact. I want to see what the ESPN, if they're covering it, what they're going to do. I think it's going to be fascinating. And I think, to your point about some of the coaches, I think you have guys like Sean McVay, Brian Flores, Matt Patricia, that are on the younger side, that John Harbaugh is an example, that will use some of the newer technology to facilitate this. And I'm excited to see what a paradigm shift will look like at the NFL, just like it is in other businesses now.
Yeah, the draft is jointly covered by ABC and ESPN. I believe at least the first round will be on both. I may be getting that incorrect. That's how it's been done in previous years. So maybe you'll get Mel Kiper with the crew on ABC, and Swampscott, Massachusetts' own Todd McShay on ESPN, and different, sort of one being a more football heavy take, one being more, kind of that Olympic presentation where it's a little bit more lifestyle heavy. I'm really curious as to how they're handling some of the lifestyle packages. Usually they show the potential picks. There will probably be cameras in some of the houses because obviously you don't have the first round picks coming out and putting the hat on and the jersey, and that's always super awkward and never felt like it added too much. But then you'd always get, and I think you'll still get this, the guy who drops, and he was supposed to be a first, a top 10 pick, and he's the last guy sitting in the green room, and he falls to number 33, first pick in the second round or some. There's real human emotion in this. And I hope they show you some of the technology, how they're working to deal with things like trades, how they're making the decisions. I want to see sort of what the visual looked like. I hope ESPN has sent sort of fixed cameras out to all these locations or worked with team personnel. Obviously, these teams own lots of cameras and have stuff set up so we can get a glimpse into the process. I love the inside baseball aspect of this.
I agree.
And I'm hoping we get more of what happened. If there's a trade, the first 10 picks are always amazingly interesting, and none of the mock drafts can forecast trades. So you're going to see some crazy stuff. And, I like the NFL draft in general, and my team never has a good pick. So I am looking forward to it more so this year. The Patriots picking a little higher than they normally would because last year didn't go quite so well. But also just where do the quarterbacks go and sort of how it's going to work. I think you're going to see a lot of people who don't watch the draft watch the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dan, always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks so much for your insight, like the share working space, and we'll talk to you again later in the week for the podcast.
Jeff, I'll see you then.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, and so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Waiting here for you to take and drink of. But if you're tired of the same old stuff.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.